Hey, Peter.
Yo.
What the hell is a groove echo chamber?
This.
Now, would that be something you might be interested in?
Yes. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice and commentary coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored.
And sunlight.
And lots of sunlight. We got that low winter sun.
We're going to see, how do we look? How does Peter and Adam look as we check ourselves out?
You look good, dude. I like those glasses.
In a lot of sun. These are blue blocking glasses. Do you know what that means?
I have a pair. Yeah, I have a pair of non-prescription blue light blockers as well.
Yeah.
That I never wear because I feel kind of like a poser, I'll be honest.
Really? But what am I blocking? I'm blocking the blue from the computer screen? I don't know what's going on.
And I think the sun, too. Blue
The
blockers.
sun?
Don't you remember those commercials from the 90s?
Those are beta blockers.
Those are blue blockers.
Those
Beta
are the
blockers
80s.
are what classical musicians used to audition.
That's right. Tune in next week for
More
a
tips.
breakdown on how to audition.
More pharmaceutical tips from...
So anyway, we are brought to you as always by Open Studio, and we got a couple of exciting things. The thing that I've been so passionate about recently, because of so much great response from our community, is our mentor sessions, which have been happening. Well, they happen every Friday. Are you familiar with them?
I am familiar again.
Sorry, I asked you that
I do
last
host
time.
them, so I am not
Rhetorical
totally
question.
zoned out.
Rhetorical question.
Yeah.
But anyway, we you know what I'm looking forward to is Taylor Eitze. We've had him on the pod before. His music.
Yeah, we've had his music
He's
on.
a firebrand.
He has done one mentor session. He's got a really nice technical setup. He is a brilliant pianist.
He subbed for a gig for me and did so well, I almost didn't get a call back from this individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to happen with Taylor Eitze. Yeah, he's super talented.
A badass.
And he's coming through to teach. So if you want to join that member session with Grammy Award winner Taylor Eitze,
Yes.
join Open Studio.
Yeah, and look, you can join, and there's no long-term commitment. You can join and then go to the mentor session with Taylor, watch the Aaron Parks one we had last week, check out the Fred Hirsch one.
Adam
and then
Larson is coming in for some shapes,
Adam Larson,
some
yeah.
melodic shapes.
You can do that, check out all of Adam's courses, all of our other stuff, and then just quit.
Adam Manis's.
Adam Manis. What did
Menace.
I say?
Someone called me Adam Menace in
I didn't
the
like
chat.
that. I didn't like that.
You liked it, literally liked it.
Oh, I did like it
Yeah.
on there. Sorry. But anyway, you can do that, and then you can just drop off, and there's no
Drop off
long-term
what?
commitment. If you want to be that guy, Open Studio. But we think once you're in the community, you're going to want to stay. We are prepared every week to give you value with our wonderful community. Also, Open Studio Pro, just to reiterate, you're going to want to go to openstudiojazz.com/pro and sign up there. You can't join right now because it got so popular, we had to gate it. We had to put up a veritable jazz gate.
Like
a swinging gate.
Like Phil Collins Toms. These are gated.
Gated
Membership
AF.
to Open Studio Pro. is
Gated
really
AF. But we're going to open up at least one more time before the end of the year, and you'll be able to get in on 2023 prices. Because 2024 prices, everything's going up, buddy. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
how much is a gallon of soy milk right now?
a gallon of soy milk is north of $5. I can't tell you how far north.
That's expensive.
Yeah. How much is vitamin D milk, as we used to call it back in the day?
It's around that too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what are we talking about today? We are asking what a groove echo chamber is.
Yeah. Now we
Okay.
know what a liberal echo chamber is.
And a conservative echo chamber.
Conservative echo chamber is.
My
You know.
idea. So this is the first single from my new record
Oh,
that you
congrats.
produced.
Oh, I did?
So it's really our record. You know, if we get a Grammy, we both get the producer, the artists, the engineer, I believe.
Yeah. Academy,
get a
if you're
Grammy.
listening,
Yes,
hook us up.
that's right.
Yeah.
Shout out Grammys. Keep on awarding. But anyway, this is the first single, though. The entire record comes out on December 1st. I'm so excited about this. This is available now to stream and all that. You can order the CD and the LP now. We'll have links to all that below. But we wanted to release this tune because we're just excited about it, and the sucker was done. So we thought it'd be fun to kind of watch, and I could give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes play-by-play. And Adam, you could give a little bit of a behind-the-scenes play-by-play as producer in the booth as we did this, because we recorded it. Am I talking fast today? I feel like I'm talking very fast. I'm drinking my green smoothie, which has got me all hyped up.
Caleb, do we have any details that we need him to read as far as like Open Studio is the
Like legal disclaimers.
legal
I could do that.
disclaimers, 'cause
I
he
could kill
really
that.
nail that right now.
No, but this is the way we recorded this record. I am so excited about, because I had the idea. You had some great ideas. We folded them together. The other musicians had some ideas. And what it kind of became, now that I look back on it, it really had many different, as we say in the business, potential points of failure. It's like a bridge that you look at it and you see that it's a little bit shoddy at some parts. Maybe there's some holes. Like you could make it across that bridge, but if you really look at that bridge, you're not going to want to cross it.
Shout out MoDOT.
Shout out MoDOT, exactly. We have some bridges. The Forest Park Parkway over there, there's some shoddy bridge work. It's just old. But anyway, it's just to say that looking back on it now, I'm glad that I didn't realize all the potential points of failure, because the main thing is we recorded this in one take. And so what that means is, and we announced that we recorded it in one take.
That was dumb.
It kind of was, though.
Whose idea was that?
We got lucky. That was my idea. But I mean, the idea is that, like, yeah, if you don't announce it, then you can sort of just do whatever it takes. Since we announced it and we live streamed it, we sort of boxed ourselves in. But it was really, I got to tell you, from a performer standpoint, I mean, I composed the piece and all that and prepped all the parts or whatever. But once you get in the moment of recording it, it's just like a gig or a recording session, except it's the combination of both of those, minus an audience.
Yeah.
Although we did have an audience online, but minus a physical audience. So we were in the studio here at Open Studio, right in the next room. We'd rehearsed and we were ready to go on this, but it kind of requires you to put out of your mind all the things of like, okay, I want to try to play this. I want to try to do that. And what I tried to do was just really get in the moment of like, let's have fun on this. Let's play something.
Yeah.
Let's create something. So I wasn't even really thinking as much as I could, let's make an album. Because then you get into that thing of thinking like, okay, I'm going to try to nail on the first take. Well, if I get to the second take, it's going to, it won't sound as fresh. And I don't want to be the one. Let me lay back a little bit. Let me do this number of choruses. All the sort of pre-planning that can be the enemy of what I think is an exciting, if not perfect, this performance, like recording like this, it's not going to be perfect in the way that sometimes we think of recordings, but a lot of the great recordings, studio or otherwise, that I love have these beautiful imperfections. So I try to allow that for me and for the other musicians to be able to enter into this space of doing one take, but saying, this is going to be it, and that's good enough. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's our decision.
And it's a good decision.
And it's a good
It was a great session, man. It was the vibes were right. I think the best thing you did, and obviously the compositions are great, but your best decision was hiring the people that you hired to do the playing. Because that's ultimately like the last line of defense to bad vibes, right? Is like if you have someone
lack of musical execution.
Listen, we've all played with people that can throw a real wrench into a gig,
right,
or a recording session,
right. They might throw a great party or a great soiree, but when it comes to the recording session,
usually the people that throw a wrench into a recording session are not the people that throw a good party. I'll be honest.
True. That's true.
Those two things are usually
that is true.
Similar,
right?
But you chose some great people: Gregory Hutchinson, Reuben Rogers, Sarah Hanahan, and I was so honored to be just a fly on the wall and giving some suggestions when I heard stuff, because we didn't have very much time for rehearsals and for working stuff out. And so I took a lot of pride in my role as trying to hear things as an audience member and with your vision in mind. And I think, not to be cocky, but I think we nailed it.
No, I think so. And I think that your production in terms of like you had some really prescient additions and subtractions as we were rehearsing the 2 days before.
Yeah.
The day of the show, you were very tight-lipped in terms of musical changes, which was smart because that could have thrown some people off their game.
It's too late. But I'm glad you mentioned the subtractions. That's mostly what I did, is take things away, because I know from my own projects, if I ever have like regrets, which I try not to hang on to, but if I ever listen to something and I'd like to change something, it's never usually like I should have added something here.
Right.
It's usually like I should have not done so much. You know what I mean? I could have taken away something, and it would have made the whole thing a little bit more impactful. So let's why don't we have a
gander, as we say? Okay.
Looky, listen. Look at that sunlight behind us, man.
Man, it is bright. Look, we're going to cover up some of it at least with this. Boom. All right, so we have a gander. And so before we get into the great Sarah playing the melody and stuff, so that obviously is the intro. First of all, shout out Zach Brown, engineer, and Caleb Kirby, really the whole team in terms of the sound and look and feel and everything. Because
Andy
Stevens for sure. The thing about this is like we were all in the same room. So just to give a little bit of like, obviously you can see us. This is actually us playing and recording, which makes things more difficult for audio engineering and for streaming and for video even in a way. Well, it kind of helps the video because you can have cool shots like that, right?
Yeah.
With Greg in the background.
Yeah.
But in terms of audio, it's a real challenge because we had no isolation. We were all facing towards each other. We did a bunch of things to make it easier for the musicians.
Yep.
So in terms of like the crew, the sound and video, big shout out for them, just a little behind the scenes to be able to pull this off. Because I gave them a challenge. I was like, I want studio audio quality sound, but we're going to record it live. We want to be able to mix things afterwards. I knew we weren't really going to be able to edit because there's going to be bleeding, but I wanted to be able to really like you hear, check out the sound of when Ruben comes in. Like of his bass. Now it's Ruben Rogers, but... just a great kind of, we haven't even seen him yet, then it'll kind of make more sense.
But you know what it is with this kind of thing, Peter? So you have 4 jazz musicians in one room together.
Yeah.
I think engineering wise, I'm no professional engineer, but I've been around it enough to know some things. And I think this is what Zach did is, just wear a simple tuxedo to the gala.
Right.
Like there's nothing more to do. Oh, gala, we should mention that later. But if you have somewhere fancy to go and you want to dress in an appropriate way, just wear a nice fitting tuxedo. Go classic. Go with something that's going to work. And
so not jeans and a wife beater.
No. Okay. Wife pleaser is what they're calling those now, by the way.
Don't
wife
even
pleaser.
Want to know why they're calling it that.
But you don't have to get too complicated with this. There's so many iconic sounding albums that have bleed, that have instruments in the same room, that aren't isolated.
Right.
And so the way I think Zach went about setting this up is like a beautiful tuxedo. It's well cut. He's getting every thing on all the instruments that you'd want.
Right.
And the bleed is minimal.
Speaking of well cut, that jacket I'm wearing is not well cut.
That was good.
Love all this. All this fill, like the fills that Greg plays, really like what he did there. They're talking about getting the right people. He plays in a way that inspires me to come up with something that works to go in between the cracks. Right. That was directly related to what he just did. Ruben knows when to lay it down.
Ruben Rogers is a vibe too.
And a lot of the stuff, not just Greg, but what Sarah's doing, what I'm doing, certainly what Ruben, it's like what I'm really proud of on this too, like we were going for some stuff. So like there's a way to play, because this melody is kind of hard. I mean, I wrote it and I was like having to read it. We made some changes too. But like Sarah is like willing to like not only nail the part, but to play some stuff, to react, to take some chances. That's the thing. Like it's one thing to take chances when you have unlimited takes. But the reality from being on a lot of recording sessions over the years is like, in a way, you only have the one take anyway, a real first take to get that kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
And so that was what my vision for this. It was like, well, yeah, we're going to cut out any chances of fixing things and doing additional takes. But what we're going to ensure at least is avoiding that whole thing of like you do 4 takes and when you go back and listen and you're like, well, the first take was a little bit sloppier, but it had that vibe. The 4th take, we got it perfect, but we were reacting to what we played in earlier takes. We've all been there. And then you end up using the first take and trying to clean it up and all that. I'm like, forget that. We're going to go right to the right take.
It's such a great idea, man.
Sorry.
No, that what it does is it causes everybody to really be on it. I mean, there's always these players are pros, and every time they play, they're really on it. But it really, everybody knows that this is it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like we all do that on the gig.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get away from this thing of like, why does it have to be so different on a recording session? Now that requires, like setting things up in a way that it can work, having them, a little more rehearsal than we normally do that kind of thing. Greg had all the music memorized pretty much.
Yeah.
So just to explain this, Kababi Bayak, so just to add another layer of complexity, but really a layer of inspiration for us.
A layer of beauty.
Yeah, so Kababi Bayak, who's an amazing painter, visual artist here in St. Louis, but is just an international artist, truly. I asked him to make the album cover, and he was like, absolutely, I'd love to do that. And then I said, and please paint it while we're making the record. And
he was like, are you crazy?
No, he was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And which was really awesome, and it added such an immediacy to it, but also it was so fun to be able to look over. And luckily I couldn't really see it from my vantage point, his actual canvas. I could just see him working and like really being part of that creative process with us. So it just gave me the inspiration without the distraction. If I had seen it, I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so cool what you're able to put together. And this is the cover for the album. And a beautiful piece that he made.
Some really nice lens flare happening here.
Yeah.
That's why you hire Sarah Hanahan.
Exactly.
For the fire. You bring on Sarah for the absolute fire.
She brought the fire, and big shout out to
Spittin'.
Sarah. And I mean, because, she hasn't done that. She's done some recording sessions. She's young. She's very well seasoned for her age. But she doesn't have the number of sets and reps together.
She made her own album coming out with Tane and
Jeff Tane Watts, Nat Reeves, Mark Carey.
Mark Carey, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but in terms of like Ruben, Greg, and I have played together so much that this was still a challenge. I couldn't imagine for her. But I mean, you see, she's not only hanging, she's like
thriving.
Solo, right?
She's thriving.
And thriving and leading through it. So shout out.
I gotta say, just real quick,
yeah,
we've been talking a lot the last several weeks about like some really young musicians.
Yes.
About like Jahari Stampley. And
we're
Sarah
just getting
Hanahan.
older. They're not even that young.
No, I know they're not really that young. We're just old, but it's really making me feel like
inspired
and also hopeful for for the future of humanity.
Okay,
Things are kind of messed up right now, and
I thought you were gonna be like, it's really made me feel bitter.
yeah, of all the messed up stuff in the world, I'm like, man, music's.
Oh, I know. When people are like, is jazz alive? Is loud? You gonna say? I'm like, oh boy, relax.
Music's okay. Music's in good hands.
Good.
Yeah,
it's all good. I love this groove that Greg's. I don't think he'd ever done this
No,
like
and all
this.
the times.
All the times we've rehearsed it.
I know.
He just went into this because he heard it on the piano.
And I have to say, as the producer here, I think this is one that I had the least amount of, like, I don't think I said anything about this one because this kind of plays itself. This is one of those tunes that you wrote. It's pretty obvious what could happen. It needs to be this kind of burning. It's a killing solo too, by the way, Pete. Look at all those roots down there. Are you sure about that? How do you do that, Peter? Can we stop the video and you just explain how you do that?
Yeah, well, no, but full transcription available to Open Studio members.
Hey, Open
Did you
Studio
know that?
members
I
get
haven't
a
even seen it yet.
I haven't seen it
But
either.
we have that
but
from Max
I trust Max made it look beautiful.
I couldn't transcribe this.
I wouldn't.
You could.
I would not, though.
You wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
We were having a little bit of fun.
That was a fun week. The whole week was fun.
Energy was there. Okay, so before we go to the drum solo, which is just incredible, I just want to say one thing, and this might be helpful for somebody watching this, is like,
Help them.
Go for something.
Hey.
Like, especially when you're playing on a tune like this.
Yeah, there's some.
There was a time when I would have listened and like heard all those little cack notes and little mistakes that I made. That stuff is not that clean. And look, we're putting it out there. You can slow this thing down and you can see that I'm not hitting everything exactly, but you have some leeway. First of all, nobody really cares.
Actually, nobody wants to hear you try to be perfect. People want to hear you go for shit.
I was going to play this perfect, but then I realized no one wanted to hear me play
nobody
perfect.
wants to hear
so
that.
I purposely messed up.
You know what's boring? Listening to someone trying to play perfectly.
Right.
Go for some
You know what else
stuff.
is boring?
What?
And drop in the comments if you know what this television show this reference is from. Don't answer it. You know what's really boring?
What?
3 hours of solo bass playing boring jazz.
I'm not a fan of jazz.
What is that, a saucer? What has he got on there?
He's got like a
What is that, a pot lid?
snare drum. Or is that a tom? Dude is creative.
Oh, man, look at that.
Kababi's like, I got to add another symbol on my picture.
Touch, man. Damn. Oh.
It's kind of risky way that he's playing, so I love it. So it's like,
And still champion.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a risky, like he's playing the form so well,
Dude.
but he's floating above it at times, as he crafts the solo. And I do remember there's places like this in every tune where normally I'd just be like, cool, but I remember thinking like, damn, this is such a killing solo. Sarah played a killing solo. Like, if we don't come together at the right place. And so what I try to do in those moments is just be like, get into the music even more. Because I figure, well, you know what? If I'm feeling it the way the rhythm section's feeling it, like, Ruben and Greg, the way that they're playing, and I use my instincts, it's not guaranteed, but there's a higher percentage average that I'm going to come in at the right place, And then I'll go with those those kind of averages.
I've only had a chance to play music with Hutch, I think once or twice, maybe. But I've been watching him play for 30 years, probably.
Damn, you're old.
Yeah, I'm old. And it's not, I think, out of bounds to say that he really is, like, has taken the torch from people like Max Roach and Art Blakey and Philly Joe Jones, in that he has some of the most creative, beautiful drum solos that on record, I think, in the past 30 years.
Yeah, for sure.
And every time I see him play live or I hear him on a recording, I always feel so, like, taken care of. Like, you never feel lost in the form. You don't feel like he's trying to mess with you. You know what I mean? Like, in a good way. Like, in a, it's not boring. It's like, he's carried like it's like a Philly Joe solo. Like it's just so it feels like it's already been in the universe for 1,000 years or something. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
like he's just letting it come through, and it's just so beautiful, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's a combination of exuberance and confidence as he goes through it that if you're willing to kind of get swept up in it, good things will happen to you.
Ah,
The breakdown, 8 bars after the solo, man, brilliant. Check out what Ruben's doing here. But you know, he's just adding creativity.
Groove, Echo, Chamber, Peter Martin, and Generation S. Congrats, Peter. That's a great track, man. You should be proud.
I'm very proud, very proud. Available now, streaming everywhere.
Yeah, go check it out.
The album's coming out December 1st.
December
We're going to do
1st.
one more single, I think, before that.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Just
You
to
got
be
anything in mind?
Generation S, I think.
Isn't that the name of the band?
That is the name of the band. Gratitude in Motion,
Okay,
I think, is the name of the track.
great tune.
Yeah.
Till next time.
You'll hear it.